Today we spoke to Nikola Kostic. Nikola is an ex-photographer and a good friend of mine who I met first on Instagram a few years back when I was doing Instagram Lives. Since then, we grew a friendship, and when I moved to Bali, we reconnected in person and had him on the podcast. He's such a great character, such a great guy, and it was really interesting to talk about a few things that weren't specific to photography. We talked about art, inspirations, people who've led the way in the industry. We talked about technicalities, but we also talked a lot about his new project in Komodo. This is really exciting, especially for him, and I hope you find it as intriguing and as exciting as I did. Welcome to the Mood Podcast. Nikola. Nikola is not a girl. Even in Bali, I guess Nikola is not a girl's name.
Girlish.
But, girlish. Nikola Kostic.
Nikola Kostic,
yeah,
yes.
I pronounced that right.
Yes.
Welcome.
Yes.
We met. We met online. This is the first time we met in person. We first met online on Instagram, I guess, when I was doing the IG lives.
Yes.
That must have been about 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And since then we've been in contact, and even moving to Bali when we moved, 6 or 7 months ago, we just haven't been able to figure out.
Yeah, there's always
because either
something.
you've been away or I've been away.
Yeah, it's literally kind of like always.
But I find that a lot here with people. You know, as we meet more people and make more friends, like most people are in. Even the people that have lived here for a long time, most people are just in and out or aren't here all the time.
Yeah, getting it kind of like attached to people here is kind of tricky.
Yeah.
And also there's this thing of, I mean, where I grew up, there's this kind of like a coffee thing, you know, like we meet and then we have a coffee and then that goes on for 14 hours. And everybody are complaining kind of like in Bali about this thing that people just don't drop in. They just, you know, like this, I hate these SMSs, can I call you? And I send those. It's like, can I call you? Just fucking call me.
Yeah.
I'll pick up or I won't. You know, like so it's this thing of like I don't know. It's maybe it's just I don't think it's just me. People are complaining about.
It's just you.
This it's just it's a different type of interaction, I guess, in Bali. But I mean, now I've been here 25 years, so I have, you know, like a couple of close friends and you know, like, and then that outer group of people who are, you know, parties and all that. So
25 years.
Yeah,
That's incredible. I don't know many people who've lived anywhere other than my home country where they were born for more than 25 years. Where did you come from, or where do you come from, and where did you come from to get to Bali?
Well, I mean, my country like changed. Like I was born in Yugoslavia, then Yugoslavia became Serbia, Montenegro, then Serbia, Montenegro became Serbia, which was very interesting traveling with that passport. I mean, like, you know, people are like, we don't have that country. So now I'm from Serbia. And kind of like, I mean, 90s, you know, end of 90s, that's where I moved to Bali. And then like 91, 92 was a complete shit show in Serbia, the wars and all that stuff. And then the sanctions, and you just kind of like couldn't do anything really. Not that I wanted to, because I was kind of surrounding also with people who were not traveling. My uncle was kind of like, that's how I got here. My uncle, luckily, was the only guy who traveled. And I got kind of like this genetic lottery, you know, like win. Because when I made that phone call to him, like, man, I mean, my life just is falling apart here.
How old were you at this time?
24.
All right.
I mean, I had a pretty good life. I was a musician, you know, so and my band was kind of like coming up to these things. We were having like good gigs and like a couple thousand people, you know, showing up and all that stuff. But it was like I was looking at this as like, man, I mean, I don't think that I will be able to survive here.
Yeah.
Then I kind of like packed up and left. And I mean, it was painful, but I mean, it worked out, definitely. I mean, what I've seen, it was the right decision.
What did you come here to do? Was that when your photography journey started?
Nothing.
Okay.
I came here with no plan.
Was your uncle here at the time?
Yeah, he was here.
Okay, so you came out to live with your uncle.
Kind of like, please just bring me over.
Yeah.
And then he was like, okay, the first year you need to learn the language, which I didn't do. Just learn the language. And then he got, I think, bored of me. I was 24. And he was like 50. So now I'm 50, and I understand that I would murder myself. Like I literally would take me and just just beat the shit out of me.
Yeah.
But I didn't know that at the time. So then after a year, I think he got kind of bored, and one day he had the jewelry business, and then he walked in with this bag of jewelry and a camera. And he's like, see what you can do. So I started with photographing jewelry, of all things. Cool. And then a week later, I was a photographer.
Yeah.
Because I heard that from James Cameron, like, what do you need to do to be a movie director? You just need a plate with it, like director, like the same thing. Like you just need a camera, and then you just go. And,
well, it's one of those vocations that not many people. If you find anyone who's done a professional course in photography, like you'd be.
How did you start?
Same kind of thing. A lot of people ask me. I can't remember a specific time I started. I've always been interested in gadgets. Always been interested in toys. That's why I wanted to fly a plane as well. It's like I picked up a camera and I was like, oh, this is cool. And then that coupled with travel, I'm like, I want some way of documenting this. And that was it. Just started taking shots. But it really wasn't until I went on my first workshop. So even when I went on the workshop, I was like, meh, a friend is doing a workshop. Yeah. I'll go along with him, and it'd be interesting. I wasn't like, this is for me. I need to get everything out of it. But literally within a day or two of being with like actual professionals who've been doing it for 30 years, like really cool stuff. It taught me just a few, like literally 10, 15 minutes about how to look at light. Yeah. And then I was like, I'm in. I'm all in. I was hooked. And so that was it.
When was that?
That was about 5 years ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So not as long as you.
No, but I mean, like, it doesn't matter. No, because I mean, this type of learning is like, right? I mean, you learn so fast. Not anybody really. The learning curve is so fast, and then it's kind of like. So I was thinking, like, everybody, like, you learn every day. I don't learn every. That's kind of like this bullshit thing that people are talking about. Is it true every day? No.
You mean specific to photography, or just in life?
And like, you don't learn every day. I mean, there are moments that you learn, and then you transcend into a next thing. I don't know about you, but I was thinking about this yesterday. It's like these geezers are kind of like, hey, every day I learn something. No,
they were just hippies.
Yeah. It's and photography is just, I mean, oh my God, in 5 years, I mean, this quality of your photography is on the level of anybody, really. Like, pick one.
Thanks.
Is it Salgado? Is it Macari? Well, I mean, for me, looking at this, like Joel, who you love, and I really appreciate his photography, it's the same level. At least for me, looking at it. Yeah. But that's 5 years.
Yeah.
That's super fast. So it's like, photography can be picked up very, very quickly.
For sure.
The business of it is a different story.
Yeah, well, it's a whole different beast. Yeah. But I think with any skill that you're able to learn, it depends on who you are. Like, I mean, and depends on how you're going to use it and how often you can practice that craft. And it is a craft. It's, everyone can learn it. Everyone can learn it in some way. It's someone's style that I think takes a long time to hone and craft. I think photography, like, you fucking learn it on YouTube in a day. Like yeah. I mean, it's not difficult. It's just practicing to put theory into motion, I guess.
I mean, it's like, I always cite this story of Orson Welles. He this cinematographer kind of like wanted to work with him, and he was the guy in Hollywood at that time. So like, why do you want to work with him? Because you have no idea what you're doing. And then they have to stop the production of Citizen Kane for a week, where this guy explained to him how movies work.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. In a week. And he made the best movie, arguably the best movie of all time.
Yeah.
It's always in top 10 movies. And the photography is like, I mean, if you can learn film in 10 days, you can learn photography in 17 hours.
Yeah, that's one area of photography I wish I spent more time learning is film. I don't mean film movies film. I mean film as in film photography film.
Yeah.
Because I think that is a real craft. I think there's very few shortcuts. It takes longer to learn, do well.
Definitely.
And it's just, I don't know, there's something about it that's hands-on. It's like, real skill, but maybe one day.
No, I mean, I was never kind of like into working with my hands, but then I planted a couple of trees, and something happened when I planted tree number 4. I remember digging this thing in, and I put it in the ground, and then I'm not gonna cry now, but I was kind of like there 20 years from now with my daughter, like under that tree, and I was like,
well, this was a vision.
Yeah. And it was like, oh my God, I mean, like, this is the first time that actually kind of like this stuff that you're doing with your hands made sense to me.
Yeah.
Like before I was like, oh my God, no, I mean, like I'll hire somebody to do that stuff, but it's kind of like becoming this thing of anything that people are able to make, doesn't matter what it is it a knife or whatever, it's becoming very interesting to me. This craft is stunning, and people, and you're right, I mean, like the film in photography is that, I mean, their Photoshop is the dodging and burning, and Ansel Adams almost died.
Oh, really?
He was discovered by Alfred Stieglitz. Mm-hmm. And then Stieglitz is the pretty much the guy who won the battle of photography being an art. Before that, it wasn't. It was just kind of instant stuff. Yeah. So discovers Ansel Adams, and he looks at these photographs and kind of like put down the book. He's like, "Sir, this is some of the best photographs that I've ever seen." He has the exhibition, and he goes into the darkroom, and of course there are like the chemicals and all that. He gets spectacularly sick. Yeah. She just almost died in that room, kind of trying to do this stuff that we're seeing today. It's just incredible. I mean, so yeah, definitely. I mean,
let's rewind a bit. So when you got to Bali, you started photographing jewelry for your uncle. Then what happened? How did you kind of branch out? How did you start earning income?
Well, I wouldn't advise anybody to do this, what I did, because definitely if they try to repeat this thing, they're living under the bridge, no doubt. I mean, there's 1000%. My way leads to homelessness. The thing is that he kind of got me another job for another guy who was doing jewelry. And then couple of years have passed. I did, here and there, nothing, like I was doing jewelry with him. And then there was that kind of thing, he fired me. It was like, dude, I mean, enough. Like, and I would do that myself too, So then I was like, okay, cool. I mean, this is the moment to kind of like figure out what to do. I went on the beach for 3 months and followed this group of surfers and wanted to be a surf photographer. And then what happened is that there was this day, 3 days, where the waves were maybe 7 meters, something like that. And I was looking at these waves.
7 meters?
7 meters, yeah. And I was looking at these waves going, Jesus. I'm not going to be a surf photographer. No. There's no way. And then I got like super lucky. My ex-girlfriend had a shop. I had the exhibition in a gym.
In a gym?
Yeah. I mean, I was massive in people's toilets. Like I would give people photograph, and I mean, and look, toilets in Bali are spectacular. I mean, like this is not like like 2x2, but I would go into their houses and I was like, it's like every single motherfucker is putting my photograph in their toilet. Are they trying to?
So you were a shit photographer.
I was a shit photographer, absolutely. I mean, like it's hurting my feelings a little bit, but I had an exhibition.
At least they're up on people's walls.
Exactly, and I had that exhibition. She said, hey, "How about you put some art in my shop?" And at that time, I was living of $200. I was eating one time a day. I was living on the beach, like really kind of like my uncle was there to help. It was kind of like this is good for you.
Yeah.
I mean, I did exactly what I would do if I would have the balls to do it. But he was there. I mean, I wasn't hungry or like some crazy story. But I did kind of I didn't kind of ask for that help and all that. And then I put up these photographs from the gym into that shop, and 3 days later I sold like 7 pieces.
Oh, wow.
Which is more money than I was living off a month. I was like, huh. And then I was like making incredible amount of money for me. If you're making $200 and you're now making 400, and I was clearing $5,000 a month, just selling photographs. So I didn't need the money.
These were prints that were framed.
Yeah, prints that are framed. That was it. And then I didn't need the commercial jobs. Well, that's where you get them. Everybody were building something, and I was kind of like this, like in Hollywood, can you ride a horse? Of course. Can you wrestle alligators? That's all I do.
Yeah.
So I was getting into these places and learning all of these, photography of villas and food and this and that. And I didn't care. It was just all fun. And because I didn't need the money, I could charge more. I could say no. So that's the birth of all of that stuff. And then I met my wife, and then life really changed. Because, she wasn't, we were, friends for good, 5, 6, 7 years before we got together. But she was doing crazy projects, like these villas, and she built a boat, and then you're kind of like going on a trip, and you're commanding this 30-meter thing that is go left, and there's that thing of life is very interesting.
And so, what are the specifics of what your wife does?
Well, she's interior designer, let's say, but she has this school in Moscow about interior design, but that is kind of branching out. So she built this.
She owns a school.
Yes.
Okay.
With her mom. Yes.
Okay.
And then what she did is she built this big villas that were kind of retreats and all that stuff. You'll come and you'll see. Then she built the first one cabin boat, I think, on the planet. The boat is 30 meters and has one cabin. And she basically, people don't know this, but she changed the way the boats are built in Indonesia. History of the boats is from 8th century. 8th century, you have the Borobudur plank and all that. They started building this thing, and she came in and just by kind of sheer, I guess, balls, just changed the landscape of it, how the boats are built. And then she built another boat, and then there are a couple of villas, and she had some restaurants. So she's just this, a ball of energy and creativity, and kind of just, she's crazy. Now I know. Before, she was very scary. Kind of like, dude.
Did you meet her here?
Yeah. I met her, and then when I was like, man, seriously, me? There's so many better choices. Clearly you're making a massive mistake. But now I kind of know a little bit more about her also flaws and all that stuff. So all these things are kind of we kind of complete each other in a pretty good way. And we have a daughter together, so it's pretty interesting.
Sounds like a good marriage.
Yeah. Sometimes. All the times. To finish the story, why this thing would lead to homelessness. I did all of these things without advertising. I did all of these things without advertising, without talking to anybody, without promoting my business, without any of these things, because Bali and me, we were kind of at the same kind of trajectory. Yeah. So, like I said, this is not the way to go. If anybody's listening, do not do it.
Yeah, but everyone needs a bit of luck. I wouldn't advise that strategy, but you've got to have some luck somewhere along the line.
Yeah, my life is 87% luck. Really. It's just I can't take credit for a lot of things. You're kind of ready, but I don't know.
So you were doing basically photography full time until you met your wife, and then you kind of tapered off a little bit.
No, that's when the photography kind of, I didn't know that at the time, but then we went and we made 14 books. We went
that's right.
We went around the world, and that's where photography for me kind of like got really, I was jaded. I was consistently in the cities photographing galleries and this and that, and just, I mean, the life was amazing, but photography wise, I was no longer waking up 5-6 o'clock in the morning. I was no longer motivated to do anything. Cities I have zero interest. If I never see another city in my life, I don't care. I mean, Amsterdam would be good, but I will have to see it with my daughter.
Amsterdam.
I mean, Rome is like, you gotta see Rome.
Once.
Yeah. I mean, but
plenty of other nicer cities, and we're the same.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so done with cities.
Like,
most of them are the fucking same anyway.
Yeah,
like
copy paste.
They have to have a similar type of infrastructure, similar type of setup, similar type of ways of working.
Yeah.
Similar type of demographic. Most countries, certainly in the West. You just say,
are you flying city to city, or you
most
are
of the time? Yeah, the last few years since COVID, it's been 90% city based with the odd vacation trip in there. But
so there's no way to photograph while you're doing that, right?
If you're a street photographer, but and I tried it. I just didn't. I wasn't good at it. I didn't have a natural knack for it, which I think is. People talk about an eye for photography, which I don't necessarily believe in, but your natural tendency with a camera in hand will always gravitate to something, whether you prefer that and are better at it or one or the other. And street photography was like, I like it. I like seeing street photography. Like if they do it well, like I think it's cool. For me, there's the more abstract, the better, I think. But I wasn't good at it. Essentially, but I was trying to find a way to do photography while still flying around the world, and that was the only real way I could do it. And I don't do that anymore.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, it's just it's hard to photograph something that you're not interested in.
Yeah,
and to cultivate that interest is almost impossible.
Yeah,
like I don't know, like the landscapes for me were always like, oh my god, I have to stand there for 2 minutes. Just kill me now.
Yeah.
Now with the video, I have no problem standing there for half an hour to get a time lapse. Like no problem whatsoever. Yeah. So there's something about this kind of like the desire. I mean, people. I mean, like you also are gravitating towards people. Doing it very differently than I do. But I mean, like when did that thing of you're heavily setting up all of your shots, like you're talking to people. Like when did that start? I mean, how did that happen?
Immediately.
It
was on the first workshop I went on, and we had where was it? Mongolia, and we had this whole kind of village essentially to ourselves, and the people there were obviously paid. I mean, at that time I was ignorant of how workshops were set up.
Sure,
but essentially the guy leading the workshop paid a fixer to basically pay people in the village to give us 4 days of their time to stand and do activities, ride on horseback, whatever it is, golden eagles and stuff. And the first day I was like, this is amazing. And then after talking to a professional there, I spoke my good friend Gary Tyson, he was like, first day don't pick up a camera. Like if we're shooting people, like your images will be more interesting, or you'll have a different perspective on how to take a photo of someone if at least the ice is broken, and at least you understand a little bit about their way of life, a little bit about who they are as people. And I was like, I just want to take, you can see it. If you put two photos, one photo of, I see this all the time, people meeting people on the street and doing a photo of them, like, it just makes me want to vomit. Yeah. But if you see someone who's put in a week of just being with these people, living with them, understanding everything about them and their way of life, and even then you can't understand it. But then you see a portrait of them, Like it's night and day, not necessarily in the technical aspect of the photo, but just maybe you think, oh, you know, I can include a prop here that will tell a bit more about the story of someone because I know them a little bit better.
Yeah.
Whatever it is,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know their expressions a little bit better. They're much more comfortable in front of a camera, like much more comfortable in front. Even in the studio here, and you know, we had a client in a couple of days ago, and you know what it's like. First hour there, you know, we've never met each other. It's like,
yeah, it's a little
everyone's awkward, and you know, we try our best. Finn and I try our best to just get music on, drinks, you know, make everyone feel as comfortable as possible. But still, when you put that camera in front of someone who especially hasn't done it before, and when we're taking photos of people, you know, in villages, in countries that they've either not seen a camera before, or they're just not used to it. Like, it's difficult. So, but that's a challenge I really like and I really want. So yeah, I spend a lot of time perfecting that skill, and I'm really still quite shit at it. Like, I can't speak most of the local languages, so I need someone there if they can't speak English. And even then, that's an extra barrier you have to overcome. But I love that about clicking the shutter button is like, yeah, great. But it's that experience, getting to know who I'm taking a photo of. Yeah,
the experience of it is great. I mean, it's I mean, that's the most time that you're doing stuff. I mean, like clicking is, you know, like milliseconds. So it's, you know, that experience is it's really the road, not the final destination there. I mean,
but
really,
I don't really want to take many like traditional portraits anymore. Like, I love them, and I think they can work really well as a complement to a series of images, or 3 or 4 images of the same person but in a different environment. So that's why I've moved, or I've evolved, I guess, towards more of environmental portraiture, where I'm taking a photo of someone in their habitat or in their place of work or in something that is relevant to them and their livelihood.
Zooming out is great.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like it's just easy to I mean, I find it exceptionally easy to take a good portrait of somebody that I'm interested in. I don't need to know them. I don't need to like I need 10 seconds. That's it. Because I mean, we in the end we become machines. Yeah. You know, like we're so in tune with the light, with the person, with the expression. It's just kind of like give me this background, like that's happening. It's not a problem. And then people go on LSD describing that photograph, what it means to them, which is just kind of like, dude, no, this was 10 seconds. I just snapped this thing, and people just go nuts. So
that's the pretension.
It reminds me of my brother, and my inner feelings are coming out. It's like, man, I want your drugs. Yeah. It's like, it's nothing to do with it's a photo of a person.
And it looks nice because I got everything right. Yeah. In terms of the technical stuff.
Yeah. But I mean, like that zooming out, I mean, I kind of like realized, I don't know, that what was missing and what is missing in my photography is the story. Yeah. And that is the one thing that is greatly missing. Like, I have pretty images, but they don't mean anything because there is no intent of telling a story. Yeah. It's just like, like gunning for, Buddhist monks, doing that. Like, it's just kind of like not really having some sort of a final destination where I want to go. I was just in the moment, which is great. And I can make up a story, but that's not the point.
Yeah, but that all depends on how you communicate those images to people. Like, if you start saying, "Oh yeah, this photo of someone, the story behind it, blah blah," and like, no, it's bullshit. If you say, "Oh, I'm not really a storyteller with my images," then there's no good or bad with that. It's just that's the way you shoot. It's the same with like travel photography or landscape. There's no fucking story there. There might be a story of the photographer in that place. Yes. But people go on about stories all the time with photography. It's like, sometimes photos don't have a story, and that's okay. Nothing. Sometimes it's just a fucking nice image, and that's brilliant. Yeah, that's just as good. Yeah. I just like the human interest behind photography.
I saw Steve McCurry, and he's going from, like, there's this exhibition somewhere, and he's going like, well, this image is like, this image, and he's talking about this thing. Obviously there is something there. He's talking about like another one, and then he comes to this one image of his, like, super famous photograph. that's a nice photograph. Moving on. It's like exactly that. And you're like, okay, this is a master, man. I mean, like, if he's like, of course, I mean, we all come up to the same stuff because there's that box of photography, and there's no out of box. Everybody gets to that kind of like final destination is, like, I'm doing it this way. This is my way, and I might like kind of like change that way, but this is how I'm doing stuff. And then there's kind of like I don't know, like just experiences. There's no more kind of like this thing of like you have to do it every day to be really, really good. No, you don't. I cannot take photo for 5 years, take the camera and just go nuts. If I'm interested in what is in front of me.
Yeah.
You're not gonna get better by every day doing it. That's a theory, which I just happen to not agree with. It's just, what's the problem? I mean, I know how to do this. I've seen the light. I know the stuff. It's just I know what's up. Yes. So yeah, I don't.
Also, it's different for like people who talk about general rules all the time. So okay, there's got to be some stuff there that certainly beginners want to take parts from, but like everyone is different.
Yeah.
Like I agree with you to some respect. Maybe I couldn't do it after a long time. I could, but it would take me coming. What did we have? 6 weeks off over Christmas, and I took the odd photo on the road, but barely anything.
Sure.
Come back in the studio, I'm like, it took me. I was fumbling around a little bit. Everyone laughing at me, but I was fumbling around a little bit, and it took me 30 minutes to get my groove. It's like, oh yeah. This, and this.
30 minutes.
But yeah, it's not. Yeah.
No, I mean, and also, I mean, like it's expression. I mean, it's just an expression. That's all there is.
Also, it depends what you're using. What are you using? What do you want the photos for? Do you want them to look good on someone's wall? Do you want them to look good on your wall? Okay, then you're going to mainly go for aesthetics.
Of course.
Do you want them to be talked about or featured in publications or something? Okay, then maybe you do have to have some depth behind it, some stories behind it, or a human interest. Because
I mean, I think that like I said, stories are for me. I mean, that is kind of like what it's come down to. The best ones are always telling some stories. The best photographers, the best at everything, they have the meaning behind these photographs,
or at least some inquisition, like the viewers going, what's going on there?
Yeah, not every single one of them, but they're going somewhere with this kind of like kind of like a project, like this thing, this project that every photographer does. This is what I'm doing, like being paid or not. Yeah. This is what I'm doing. This is kind of like how I will advance in this, like whatever. It's storytelling. I mean, because in the end, it is a story.
Yeah.
So
how does that translate into video? I mean, storytelling part of video is easier because it's moving format, so you can actually like take your time to unravel more depth to whatever you're shooting.
Photography for me is very forgiving, like super forgiving. You can, I can look at that photograph of yours there and tell you stuff, and like in the video or film or whatever, you gotta tell a story.
Yeah. So
it's on you. I mean, if you don't tell it, if you don't communicate it well, then that's not good.
Yeah.
So, but in photography, I mean, it's just
open for interpretation, isn't it?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's like like Richard Avedon said, like not one single photograph can tell a full story about anything, which is true. Yeah. In video, I mean, it's also video is so more complex than photography, because there's so many little things, like if you forget that one thing, like putting on microphone, well,
that's your whole project.
Like, it's just like catering was great, amazing, like I mean our DOP was like doing an amazing job. But boys, we don't have a sound. So all of these things are like, this is like, I don't know, like I took my time to learn all of these things by myself, because I think that is, like it's kind of interesting, because in the end of kind of that commercial career, I had my assistant was kind of like my brother. I mean, we worked together for, I don't know, maybe 18 years. So we'd come to a photo shoot, and I'm kind of like trying to help him, like with stuff. He's like, what are you doing here? And I was like, but I'm helping. It's like, no, there's the owner of the place. You need to talk to him, have a coffee there. This is my job. Get away. I mean, we were really close. And then by the end of the day, the equipment is like, your job is to have wine with him, and this is our next job. My job is to take care of the equipment. So as a photographer, I was like, super, oh my God, I have worked so hard. With video, when you get to this kind of, again at the beginning, it is so complex. I mean, this light is off and on, and that thing is off, and then you start the video, and there's so much stuff. Yeah, right. So it's more complex, but that makes it more fun. And then when you have somebody to help you, I mean, what happened to me Instagram? The guy DM'd me 3 months ago.
Who?
His name is Max Shatalov. He's a incredible camera guy. And he DM'd me like, I saw your YouTube. I want to do anything with you. And I went to his kind of like the thing. I was like, man, I mean, why do you want to work with me? You're so much better than me. He's like, no. This is something that I kind of like. I believe in this and all that. Well, we went to the island and shot stuff together. We just kind of we finished the golf video where I'm chasing the general manager of a golf course to beat him up. That's the end of the video. We did so much stuff together and trying to get this production house going, and it was from one DM. So that's kind of and that's where I got my kind of guy. Now I can talk to somebody because it's so lonely.
It is important. Yeah, it is.
It is so lonely.
Yeah, some people like that though.
It's good at times, but I mean, if I'm kind of like, well, this is great, and then I kind of like turn to the left. Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, we are incredible. It's like you're talking to yourself. There's no challenge there.
I can't stand my assistant. She's not laughing. So how just we'll get to your project in a minute, but how did it transition from photography to videography?
My wife.
Okay.
I mean, we kind of started the COVID time. We started thinking about building stuff on this island, and essentially she was pushing me to direct. And I was like, no way. For about 7 months, I was just kind of like going, no. I mean, like, I'm going to hurt this thing. I mean, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So, and then one evening, we actually approached Richard Branson's son, who lives in Bali, to direct this thing. And he said no, because I mean, it's Richard Branson's son. He has an island, so it's not like, oh my God, this is amazing opportunity. I don't care, I don't want to be strapped on the island for 3 years. I mean, like building stuff. And then I was like, interesting. And then I started talking one night. We're drinking, and I'm like, this is what I would do, and I would do this and this and this. And she's like, yep. So you're doing it. And I'm like, yeah, fuck, I'm doing it.
So what are you doing? Tell us what you're doing. What is this project about?
The project is this. We have started thinking about building the island.
What island?
In Komodo. It's Komodo that we have in Komodo, and
so there's an island there that you're going to build on.
Yes, we were going to build on. And then what we have is 3 years of thinking really big. We were thinking about multi-million-dollar villas, just a crazy project that would cost incredible amount of money.
For free?
Yes. And then like all of these investor parts and all that stuff, and we were just a little bit jaded with all of these things, because I mean, it is a great project, and yes, we could potentially have an investor, and we were there a couple of times, where it just things are so close, and then it's kind of like, well, it falls through. And then probably 3 months ago, we went, you know what, we're gonna build it ourselves with our own hands, with the money that we have, it's going to be completely different thing. It's just like, bamboo huts and this and that, and then we're going to transcend into a little bit more complicated structures over time, prefabs and all that stuff. So that is kind of the gist of the island. And then one of the things that we're planning to do on the bigger, bigger vision was modern art museum. Mm-hmm. And then we realized that we can do it right now. So we're going to start building this modern art museum. And the first exhibition is going to be in about 10 days.
On the same island?
On the same island, yeah.
Okay.
So it's going to be...
So have you built anything on the island at the moment?
The first structure is going to be up in 3 days. In actually 5 days.
So the first structure is going to be the museum?
The museum is going to be all around the island. So it's going to be kind of like, we're just going to go there now and feel this thing. We have 18 massive images, probably 2 meters by 150. So the exhibition is going to be, called Art for Eagles and Dragons, because obviously Komodo dragons, and there's one eagle that is visiting the island. So that's why the thing, we're going to let our daughter design who's 5, design the invitation, and we're just going to go nuts. I mean, who gets this chance to, really go crazy and like the imagination is really the limit, Now we're kind of like designing the chicken house, which is also going to be art space. So basically, we're gonna have chickens, but some of the best designers in Moscow now are working on our houses for chickens. So that is going to be like multi-purposeful kind of thing.
I'm fucking so confused. Okay,
I know.
So you have an island.
Yes.
In Komodo. Mm-hmm. You're building on that island a number of villas, or your own home, or both.
Number of houses are going to be built there, and one of these places that we're going to live in.
Okay, so how many houses?
I think 8 to 15.
8 to 15.
Yeah,
wow.
We don't know yet, but
and one of those will be yours.
Yes.
In conjunction, you're going to have or operate a museum of art.
There will be a restaurant there.
Okay.
Basically, kind of like going back to old age cooking, like Francis.
So it's so it's going to be a
self-sufficient island.
Fully,
yes,
I remember speaking about
fully
eco-friendly.
Hopefully, fully sustainable.
Sustainable.
Because we're also learning, like as we go. You cannot really be, fully sustainable. Zero waste is a dream, but technology is just not there.
And are these going to be high-end houses? Like, can we afford one?
I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah, we're going to be starting to selling plots very soon. So I'll send you the things, and we'll see. Maybe we'll be neighbors. But yeah, there'll be a lot of stuff that is coming up simultaneously. We'll have like archery and martial arts, and we now discover that we have a perfect location for one hole for golf, and it's just entertainment there is very, very important when you're on the island. That's something that is lacking. You can go to a hotel, but then you jump in a pool and ping pong. That's it. Mm-hmm. So we're trying to figure out as many things to actually do on the island. If you're a person who is kind of likes to just sit down, cool. If you want to kind of go 100%, the whole day, you can do that too.
But this won't be hospitality based. These people will own their houses, or will they be rented? It will be like a holiday homes.
Well, depends on the person, obviously, but right. I think that in the end, people will buy them, and I guess they will rent them at some point, because also the area is growing in the Indonesian kind of thing. It's being pushed by the government here heavily. So the infrastructure is being there. There's a place just above Labuan Bajo. It's like 400 acres of economic free zone. So basically, whoever has the idea and the investors, they can do stuff there and get the land from the government. So it's a very, very kind of like the area is exploding in a way, and we're already there with the boat that my wife built. So this island is, it's perfectly situated. It's 20 minutes from the airport. You land, you're from the airport to the harbor, you're in 10 minutes, and then 20 minutes to get to the island. And once you're there, you're not seeing anything. You're not seeing the city or anything. So it's kind of like...
God, it sounds like heaven.
Yeah. I mean, and then diving, and then spearfishing, and this.
We have a dive center on the island.
For sure. Yeah. It will have to be. I mean, because that's
amazing,
kind of yeah. But it's gonna be.
I'm very envious.
Yeah, me too. I mean, like if I was
envious
like,
of yourself.
No, it's kind of like a weird like luck, man. I mean, like I really kind of like who does
the
this?
right woman.
Yeah, it's just like. She made a mistake, but like I mean, like it's too late. So
she's committed now.
No. I mean, it's amazing opportunity, and I'm kind of like it's just there's something that happened. Like we were there for like 10 days, just maybe 2 weeks ago, and things started. Like I don't know, something changed in my head. Like just working manually, and it's hot, and there's no toilets, and it's just kind of like 4 smelly guys and. It was just special. And then I came here, like, I mean, they have this scene that we're eating ice, like for 4 or 5 days. Look, first were problems, but we were just hot and there's no ice and our machine broke and all that. And after 4 days, opening this thing and having something cold, oh my God. Like I have the scene that the first batch of workers left. They just left. They were kind of like from the end of Flores, and they were like, okay, my mother died, whatever, and they left. I have that scene. They're leaving. Then I have them going the sunset, and then the next guys are from the neighboring village.
What is the inspiration behind that, and what's it gonna show?
Yeah. The inspiration definitely is the Museum of Modern Art in Tasmania. It's called Mona, and I mean, we were doing these books for about 3 years. We traveled. We have seen probably more than 1,000 galleries around the world.
Yeah.
And usually you would see the galleries and go like, okay, so this is clearly money laundering because. This cannot be real. I mean, this is just come on, man. This is ridiculous. It's like $4 million for a glass. No, that's clearly run by some. It's just like you're laundering money, man. That's it. And then you kind of go to galleries that kind of like you go out and you're like, interesting space. Like you're not talking about art, like I mean, people like Moscow is probably the only place where I went where throughout it's either good or excellent. The rest of the world is pretty lame.
In what way? When you say good or excellent, in what way?
Everything is about this modern kind of expression of like, what the hell is this? Most of the galleries are selling like, what the hell is this? Like I don't understand it. I hate it, or you just there's no sense of what is this. Photography is not represented at all. For example, there's so little, places where there's photography, which is weird. So I want, I want photographers there definitely, and like being represented 1,000%. But I also want weird stuff. And that Mona stuff has, for example, Mona has a poop machine. Poop machine is the machine that makes shit. And it smells like shit. And it's kind of a machine that makes, in the end, you have like a couple of compartments, and then in the end, you just get the dropping. And it's shit. It's
the shit.
It's the shit. Then they have a pussy wall. Pussy wall is the wall of the cast of vaginas that goes like 300 vaginas.
Oh, I've seen that.
On the wall. Yeah. Very famous thing. Yeah. And a good friend of mine who was my agent, her husband is amazing. There's like a full gallery, and he's like, "Hey, Sally, this is like you.
This is yours."
Oh, Jesus. But I mean, they're weird. And then you have Egyptian sarcophags, and there's this mixture of video art and just it's good all around. The Mona is just amazing.
Tell people what Mona is, just for those who are watching.
Mona is a modern art museum in Tasmania that basically was built a number of years ago and basically changed the landscape of Tasmania. Tasmania was like a beautiful place, but nobody was kind of like visiting the city of Hobart. And then this guy built this place, and it basically raised the capital by 30%. The whole GP of Tasmania
GDP
was
of Tasmania.
was raised by 30%. And politicians are kind of like going like, oh my God, we were kind of like, yeah, it has something to do with it, this building of a museum, but not really. No, it's just that museum changed everything. So what we want to do is kind of replicate this thing, because we feel that Komodo is definitely the place where that could happen. We're not particularly about making money, although there is money to be made, but who gets to kind of have this, your imagination is the limit. So that is where this gallery is going. Who has a great idea? Yes, please do it. I mean, if we like it, just do it. That is, of course, before we start, before this, this is a romantic part of it when you're trying to figure out what this really is. But and I know that personally, I want to work with people that I like, that I can drink with. I can break bread. I don't want some difficult artist. I don't care. No.
Some pretentious.
No. I mean, and then there's a lot of stuff that is from Indonesia that can be kind of highlighted, artists and different things. But I think that there should be international thing. It will be video art, which I'm really interested in. Bill Viola is massive inspiration for me. The guy who does video art. The first time I saw him was in Holland, and it's spectacular. I mean, he has this scene you come in to a place, and there's a slow motion of two Indian women talking on the street, and you're like, what? And then you kind of sit down, and you're like, the sari is just moving just right, and I don't know. There's something about this guy. He's doing stuff on such a high level. I wanted to create some kind of a room where you would go into the underworld of Komodo. You kind of sit in the room much like this, and then the level of water start rising, and all of a sudden you are in this underwater world. But this is dreams. I mean, really, the only thing, this positivity of my wife is rubbing off on me, and it's just annoying. But I mean, this is kind of when you're 70 and you have these stories to tell.
A legacy.
Yeah, I mean, this is the first time that I'm thinking about that, because I mean, obviously, I think that it's very much connected to the birth of my daughter.
Of course.
So it's this thing of my mom and dad did this stuff. This is amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of the end of it. And then you have this nice kind of restaurant resurrecting the old ways of cooking, in the ground on the spikes with fire and all of that. So that you want to. I mean, I think that we want to create this incredible experience for somebody to just go there and be, I mean, I don't think that you will need a phone there, which is...
Can you get service there?
Yeah.
Oh, you
absolutely.
can?
Oh, absolutely. But I mean, that is a must,
That's number one thing that...
Let's be, let's be realistic, there's no phone? Okay. But I think that we have this chance to kind of go back in time, even though the world is just it's very fast. But I like this life, I wake up, I go diving, I pick up a fish, that fish, I cut it, with my own hands, it's just amazing. Go to the gardens, pick it up. In the afternoons you play whatever, badminton or you go archery, having golf hole there, which is probably going to be one of the best golf courses on the planet. We just figured it out. We literally figured out the hole, And it was like we're standing in this place, and two of us, Evan and myself, the other artists that will be represented in this exhibition. We just love golf. And we're standing there. It's like, man, we can shoot from there to there. It's like, oh my
just a little
God, man. Yeah. It's like, it's crazy. I mean, it's absolutely crazy. So this, I mean, like, I don't know if any of these things will happen and all that, but I mean, this is the time for dreams. There's no bad ideas.
Yeah, I mean, you have a blank canvas.
It's amazing.
Almost. Yeah, you can do what you want.
Yeah. And I mean, the guys, like, I mean, we talked about this just outside with the cigarette, but I mean, like, let's talk about this now. I mean, guys like yourself, you know, going and contributing with you know, your skills, you know, like, which are amazing, you know, like to have this, you know, like, friends who, you know, like, I enjoy having a wine with you, and you know, kind of like include all these people, because I mean, that's how we grow.
That's what it's all about. Yeah.
I mean, you know, yeah, we could gather all of the money in the world, but it just doesn't matter. Doesn't
mean anything.
Yeah. If you cannot just sit down and breathe.
Well, I'd love to come and visit. Take me through visually how, you know, we talked a little bit off air about exhibitions and galleries in Bali and Indonesia generally, and how they're lacking in some respect, or certainly those that have done well, and definitely those in the photography space. How, you know, do you see that as an opportunity that you can utilize for this Museum of Art? I know you're going to take a kind of a modern take on it, but that, you know, there'll be photography featured, right?
There'll be a lot of photography, because I am one.
Yeah.
And I want to kind of like go like, you know, this is our space. You know, for photographers, because I mean, like when I'm saying modern art museum, I don't mean modern art museum, because modern, we're kind of like having debates at night with wine, and I'm like, I want to call it art museum, because I don't want modern in there. I don't want anything like, if I like the stuff, great, you know, like, but modern implies this thing of like, you guys are laundering money, aren't you?
Yeah.
So I hate that word. I mean, because it just, I don't know, for me it's dirty, like sustainability and, you know, like these things that are used to raise
Labels,
money.
Yeah.
It's just, they're becoming horrible, because people are using them, you know, like for evil, even though they're great words.
Yeah, virtue signaling.
Yeah,
almost.
it's like, if you're
unsustainable.
Yeah.
Right.
We cannot be zero waste, which we were really trying to do, but then you're kind of like, okay, I mean, if I want to be zero waste, well, I need electrical boat. Like, how much money will that take? And also, that electrical boat is using lithium batteries.
Yeah.
So somebody's digging for lithium, right? So you can't. You just realistically, you cannot. So we're not gonna pollute. We're not gonna, you know, we're not gonna harm the place. We're hoping to elevate this place, but some realities are you know, definitely needed. And I mean, when it comes to art, pretty much I think that, you know, like whatever I like or my wife likes, or, you know, anybody with a good idea, I don't care what it is. Is the video art, photography, paintings, sculptures, the combination of everything? I don't.
And what do you like? Where did it kind of all start for you in terms of inspiration, favorite photos, favorite photographers, favorite artists?
I think my uncle kind of fed me with the greats. You know, like, I mean, in my mind, you just need to see if
Kim Kardashian.
Yes. I mean, like, that's the best thing.
The best influences there.
Yeah. Joe Rogan said it right. I mean, like, if Kim Kardashian went to a Harvard Business School, you know that one, right? If she went to a business art school and she was like, okay, so what's your plan? Well, I'm going to have sex with a guy, put it on the internet. And Harvard guy is like, and then what? That's it. That's my plan. I mean, and that actually happened. And I mean, of course, she's doing some great stuff, but yeah, I don't care.
Mate, just to pan away from that for a second. I did recently did some, and this is me being 40-year-old naive guy with social media. Like I did some competitor research. I say competitor. I was looking through Instagram and just to get an idea of what the market, generally the population wants to see.
Sure.
Because although I don't want to dilute my photographs and my art, but I also want to be able to like try and weave my way into being noticed and increase my exposure. I mean, mate, I was like, I'm so done with this. So I'd set up a dummy account and just started scrolling. I spent pretty much a whole day just going, and no joke. And I wrote notes down and stuff, but 50% of what I saw were women, half naked women.
Yes.
Trying to get more naked.
Yes.
Or half naked women doing something lewd that wasn't overtly lewd that would get them banned, if you know what I mean. Like taking a banana and eating it in a sexually provocative way. And I'm not even 50% of what, and I must have scrolled through thousands of reels.
I love that you're doing this confession.
I can't compete with that.
Confession in front of your wife.
Yeah, I can. Yeah.
No.
No, it wasn't Instagram. It's YouPorn.
No, but look, look, sex sells. But the thing is that I was thinking about this thing. The thing is that girl is not complaining about photographers. Like they're not complaining about something of a substance, right? So she's doing this and she's making money. That's amazing. But and I'm kind of in a way her customer, because of course like you're scrolling, there are always butts and this and that.
Yeah, but I'm not. I don't.
Well, but
like I just get like I mean.
Yeah, but you're her customer because you spend whatever time you spend on her feed. You're her customer. You don't.
Yeah, but only with a dummy account.
Yeah, sure.
I don't follow that shit on my normal account.
I understand that, but you have spent time now. I see what you mean.
Yeah, so I've given her time.
Of course.
Yeah, indirectly.
Of course, but that girl also. The way I'm thinking is this, like, she's not complaining about photographers or this, and that girl could be like super interesting and smart, and that could be my customer, because through that butt, I could get to more people. So I'm thinking, because I mean everybody are kind of like, okay, we all know what this is and what is not.
I agree with. I understand all that, but that's not my point. My point
is a problem. Yeah.
My point is like let's generalize it as art. I don't like to call myself an artist, but I people in the creative space like trying to actually like craft something that has some substance.
Sure.
How can we honestly like compete in the world when 50% of society, and I'm not blaming the women, I'm not blaming these people on Instagram, I'm blaming us who fucking view it, right?
Of course.
So it's either that, or it's 50% of that, and I'd say 25% was accidents, people getting in accidents, people getting hit by cars, people like this morbid fascination. So it just gave me an insight, and we're all in our little social media bubbles. Like we see, if we're on social media, we see what we're doing. If we use Google, we only see search results tailored to us. If we see news apps, we only see stuff that's whatever it is. We are all in our own little bubbles now, which is a completely different debate. My point is like, how can we compete with that in society? So the answer is we can't.
No.
We have to find our people who are interested in things like an exhibition.
Just be more interesting. That is the thing. Because I mean the problem for example in the world of photography, the photography is just, you can't compete. There's no way. No. You cannot compete with a video. No. There's no way. I mean, video is just more, and you're doing the videos. You're doing your. For example, I saw that one second Wednesday, right?
That was a one finger up.
Exactly. Yeah. However, even though that's super smart, of course. I mean, like it's kind of it is hilarious. You're doing exactly that. You're trying to draw attention.
Of course, I want
to that and you. Yeah. So like the only answer is be more fucking interesting.
Right.
Like that is it.
Yeah.
And I mean, and then you might be or not be or whatever it is. But I mean, there's no. Unfortunately, competition is it's just there's no winning here. There's just kind of like happy life.
I'm with social media. I've always been a hater of it and a lover of it. And I always say to people, like, if you use it in the right way and you know what the effects are, you know how the algorithms dictate what you want to see. And this is not just Instagram. This is most technologies, smartphones, it's apps, it's everything. It's everything that's algorithm based.
Yeah.
But like, if we talk specifically about Instagram, because that's where I was just like, Instagram, TikToks, what the fuck are people? This is what you're churning out to me. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know if this is helping us. And I don't, obviously we don't know the answer, and I don't know how we got onto this, but
yeah,
like, it's when we talk about exhibitions, museums, like, is the market still there for that?
I think it is. I mean, I think that the market for beauty will always be there. It's just that the today we have kind of like this shift of art, like especially with like rappers actually changed everything. They're first talking about
racist.
Yeah, they changed everything because they're talking about businesses before music. And like I spoke to a couple of DJs, which are absolutely, I mean, DJs for me, like, I despise that thing because I'm like all guitars and grunge and all that stuff. But they're talking about specific beats that they're kind of like, when I was making music, it was just, we made it. I wasn't thinking about selling or anything. Blah,
so
blah.
DJs would
kind of
make
like
specific beat because they knew
specific beat that works with your heartbeat. It kind of like that, and like
60 beats a minute, or 120 beats a minute.
It's kind of like, Jesus Christ, man. I mean, like, and also there is a formula to make a good pop song, but there are not a lot of good pop songs. So there's that human element, I guess. I don't know. I mean, I'm hoping, like, my daughter has no limit on the phone, no limit on sweets.
Like candy sweets.
Yeah. My sister's son has the limit on the phone, has the limit on sweets. And I don't know, maybe this bites me in the ass 4 years from now. Alexa, I gave her like chocolate, and she was like, "No, I had some. I mean, just put it in the fridge
Alexa
for tomorrow."
is your daughter?
My daughter. My sister's son would sell his soul for chocolate. You know what I mean?
You're not talking to Amazon now, are you?
Sorry?
You're not talking to Amazon when you say Alexa, let's play.
No, I think she's going to have a very confusing life. That's for sure. We should have come up with some other name. But I mean, it is kind of like
have another daughter called Siri.
Yeah, right. I mean, that's next one. She's able to say no to these drugs, really.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like, maybe she's too young and all that, and maybe she'll get kind of completely fucked up. Maybe, you know, like, what, I'm not putting any kind of 15 minutes, this, that. I mean, look, Steve Jobs was saying, like, you know, put the limit on it. He knew what he was doing. I'm going to assume that he's smarter than me. But I'm seeing some sort of a different type of thing where you ban people to do stuff. I don't know where we're going with this, with the whole social media. No, but I mean, not with this conversation. I don't know where this is going, because I think it's going to some healthier place, because there are podcasts that are hugely popular, and they're like, 2-3 hours long.
That's true.
Like, it's just the thirst for knowledge, the thirst for legitimate person. For somebody who is saying the truth, how do you know that if they're saying the truth or not? That's a different story. But there is some sort of a birth of like a legit person. Something is being brewed here. I mean, and we are in this kind of like a mishmash of crap. We have social media, then we went COVID. Everybody locked down, everybody on their phones, blah, blah, blah. You could literally, if anybody was smart, 4 months in, you could literally call Steve McCurry and Sebastião Salgado and have them on your podcast.
Yeah. Because
they were just bored.
Yeah.
So I don't know where we're going with the whole, but I think that there is a birth of something. Maybe we will kind of like, maybe some people will get away from it. Some people will just lose their souls on this thing.
They already have.
Yeah, I mean, just,
they already have. I mean,
just,
but
You know.
As long as I think there's a place. I mean, we talk about. I love the fact that you are so passionate about art, physical art, and because the future is digital art, NFTs,
of course,
the metaverse,
sure,
all of that stuff. I don't really understand. I understand. I understand about NFT. Like I've learned a lot in the last year or two about NFTs, and I'm kind of excited for that part of the art world, and I think it can. Thanks. I think it can sit really well with conventional art, and I don't think it will be lost. But it doesn't matter. You can make as much noise as you want. I think it's always nice to talk to someone who just still wants to just showcase art in person with normal people, not on a phone, and just enjoy that craft and that form of art in itself.
I mean, look, we could be that kind of bastion of something, like I said, I started thinking in terms of legacy of like 20, 30 years from now. We could be the people who are, because I mean, like, I don't think that the things that are made with our hands will devalue. I think that there will be more and more value on people making stuff, because it's going to be rarer and rarer.
Yeah.
And that type of thing, if you're very good at something, making whatever, you are probably making pretty good living with that in this world. The world 20, 30 years from now, I think it's going to be even more valued. It's just going to be this kind of thing, and all their trends, like that, like it comes and goes, and like, like, my God, I mean, like 80s, seriously, like are back with clothing. That was enough one time. Like, really, 80s, it's horrible. I mean, what really? But people are kind of liking this horrific stuff that was...
What do you think of 80s music?
Love it, hate it. I mean, that was kind of like the first kind of like into music. Duran Duran was the first band that I was kind of like into, like massively.
Yeah.
And then, I mean, there's some good stuff there, predominantly horrible music. Like predominantly just shit, but it's kind of like listening it in that kind of like ABBA, like, I mean, people are like, oh my God, it's such a great band. No, it wasn't. I mean, you're listening to it ironically. I mean, great songs, poppy, but
melodic,
catchy. Somebody was like, I really love guitars. I love guitar music. And somebody was saying, like, well, the guitars are not going to be existing in 100 years from now. And then there was somebody, like Dave Grohl or somebody, saying, like, well, if they don't, they don't. Like, if they don't, they don't. It's just this progression of life, because we are so precious about our lives. Like, we're like, oh my God, the 90s music and like Stone Roses and Happy Mondays and, Joy Division, and then Nirvana comes in and Stone Temple Pilots, blah, blah. Amazing, right? Well, somebody grew up with Beatles. Somebody grew up with Elvis. Somebody grew up with Sinatra, Charlie Parker, and Mozart and all that. If it's good, it's probably going to last a while, right? And look, I don't think I'm going to be remembered. I don't think Alexander the Great will be remembered 100,000 years from now. So, like...
I totally agree with you, and people get so wrapped up in that, think they're the most important. They think the world revolves around them, whether in an arrogant way or not arrogant way.
Sure.
We're all in our
that thing,
bubble, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's on or off technology. I guess the point that is interesting is that things like photography that could be overtaken or dominated, should I say. I think photography will always be around, but dominated by AI, dominated by the metaverse, dominated by AI. Let's leave it at that. That's people's livelihood. Like, people have to adapt. I get it, but if you're a photographer and let's say overnight photography doesn't exist anymore, or it does, and it's a tiny little portion of someone. Oh, he's a photographer. That's the difference. Like, it's not so much the art form as an art. It's more okay, this actually means a lot to people because it is their livelihood.
Yeah.
Like, how are they going to earn? Where does their profession go from there? And
really kind of like cold answer to that is that's their problem.
Yeah.
I read somewhere jobs that no longer exist, and they were there in 1900s. So basically, there was a guy at some point who was lighting the candles on the street because there was no light. Electricity came, and that job was gone.
Mm.
And that was his whole life, was like, I'm going to light these candles all around the city. I was doing well. I mean, life is good. I work at night and just come in the morning and, turn this off. And then I have the whole day with my family. And then electricity. He's like, well, now I have to look for a new job. So that's the whole point, is that, oh my God, so many jobs are created in the last 10 years. We're not prepared to, educating my daughter, for example, every generation is not prepared to educate the new generation. These days, it's almost impossible.
Yeah.
What the fuck is the world
goes so
going
quickly
to be like?
well.
Oh my God, 20 years from now.
Fast. Yeah.
This is incredible.
Yeah.
So, you made a jump. We haven't talked about it. You made a jump from living in Hong Kong, coming to Bali. What is that like? It's a completely different worlds.
Yeah, very different. We had 9 years in Hong Kong, and we loved pretty much every minute of it.
Yeah.
It was really COVID that started just being a repressed society. And we had enough. Me flying as a pilot, like going in and out of Hong Kong and having to quarantine, or the company wanting to keep us away for so long so that my boss wanting to keep us away so long so he wouldn't have to quarantine. So it was just difficult, like it was for everyone else on the planet as well,
of course,
in different ways. So that was kind of the catalyst that made us look elsewhere. Me personally, I'd always wanted to live in Indonesia after having traveled here so many times, diving or photography or whatever it was. Even flying, like my previous boss, they would come down here a lot to various destinations for vacations. I just fell in love. With the country.
Amazing, yeah.
So I was like, that was my job to convince Fee, my wife, to, like, if we're going to move from Hong Kong, this is where I want to go. And that was always on the cards for a few years. And then COVID hit, life became more difficult. And it got to a point where it's like, look, if we don't do this now, we probably will never. And obviously a big decision. And the like you said, the difference in culture, the difference in society, difference in way of living, it's polar opposites.
Yeah.
And we've loved it generally. It's been difficult to set up a life in Bali. Like when we moved to Hong Kong, I was 30-ish. We were 30-ish.
Yeah.
And so, we were happy to go and socialize all the time. Like go out, join sports clubs, join other clubs, meet loads of people, just say yes to everything.
Yeah.
Right. So building a social network there was easy.
Fun.
Actually. When we came here, much more different. It's more transient, even though we thought Hong Kong was a transient place. Here's even more so, much more heavily geared towards tourism. And so, like you mentioned earlier, building like a sustainable, permanent kind of social network is we know it's now very difficult, and we just have to accept that that's just the way it is. We get other benefits from living here, and that kind of thing will come. So, photography wise, like night and day. Like Hong Kong was Hong Kong was beautiful landscape. We lived near the beaches, in the mountains. So landscape-wise and street-wise, Hong Kong is
best.
Mecca.
Oh, it's the best.
Portrait-wise,
yeah,
like no one wants their fucking photo taken because of their beliefs, spiritual beliefs, or just because they don't really want some guaylo, some white guy coming up to them, shoving a camera in their face. That was just their culture. Here, it's the opposite, and they welcome it. They're just. Nothing against Hong Kong, don't shoot me, but they're just more friendly people. It's just
for sure.
These are the most friendly people I've ever met in any country, in my experience. So yeah, there are lots of differences. We're embracing everything. We're just taking everything.
So what's your plans for? I mean, you're going to be in Bali, but I mean, what is kind of like overall plan to where you want to go in Indonesia? What do you want to see?
Lots of places. I want to go to Komodo and check out your island.
Yeah.
I want to go to. We're doing a project in a couple of weeks. Going to Egen.
Oh yeah.
Shoot the sulfur miners there.
It's amazing.
As long as the volcano looks like it's pretty dodgy at the moment, so we may not even go there.
Okay.
Then we're gonna go to the Mount Bromo, do Tenga tribe there, a couple of other tribes, Osing tribe, Warok warriors. That would be like a 12-day, 13-day, just call it 2 weeks project. So that's somewhere I've wanted to go for a while. And Java's like, I mean, there's so many places.
Yeah, Java's amazing.
So many places. I mean, there's so many places I don't know about.
Oh, sure.
Diving, I'm a big scuba diver, so, you know, I always want to go. I'd love to go back to Ambon, love to go back to Lembe.
Toraja?
I'd love to go back to Raja. Not
Toraja. Toraja.
Oh, Toraja.
Yeah.
Where's that?
When they're displaying the dead people outside of the house. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about scuba diving.
Oh, yeah. No, that's a different island. But I mean, like there are like 20,000 of them. No, Toraja is incredible. Definitely, I haven't been, but obviously I know a lot of people who did, and it's incredible.
Tell me about it a little bit more.
Well, they kind of like have this belief of I don't know, like the death. I mean, the death is present everywhere. So basically, they're displaying their death. You know, like outside of the houses, they have these massive ceremonies with like literally skeletons. Like just that's part of life. So I mean, you know, graphically, that to me is like double click on yes. I mean, that seems incredible. A place to visit, to photograph, to experience really, because you know that healthy relationship with. Then they kind of like I think that they kind of like dig up the relatives like after a while, and they parade them around the city, and then they put them back. It's just it's interesting.
I've only seen pictures of it. I don't really know
it's interesting. It's an interesting place.
The different subcultures here in Indonesia, or the cultures of Indonesia. I mean, the languages are one thing, but that's just an indicator of how many different ways of life and different cohorts of people there are in this country. Yeah. And 95% of it I don't know. Oh sure. Like, and I felt like I've read enough about this country. Like I know nothing. So really, it's.
Do you know about the?
It's on me. It's like the responsibility on me is for myself to go and explore.
Oh yeah.
The unknown and explore the lesser talked about.
Yeah, I mean,
and people.
There's this whale fishing village. You know about that one?
No.
They're jumping off the boat, kind of like killing the whales. I mean, look, this is all in their tradition for thousands of years. So, like, you know, like, and anybody who jumps off the rickety boat with a spear and kills a whale, I mean, like, you know what, buddy, take it. I mean, compared to Japanese harpooning stuff, I mean, this is just, you know, they're using every bit of that whale, which is horrible that I even have to say this, but this is what they do. That's what this village is about. And they, at times, they were. I think that this guy Evan, who is going to be the second photographer, I think they got the blue whale at some point.
Wow.
They
really?
got the.
With what?
Or is it? Humpback, you know, the first guy who jumps and spears the whale gets the heart of it. Yeah, I'll introduce you to Evan, man. I mean, like, this is gonna be a fun evening. I promise you. I mean, that motherfucker was everywhere. He was living with them for like a month.
Wow.
Yeah, you want to hear his stories, definitely, from Indonesia. But I mean, he's we kind of clicked really well, and we're doing a lot of stuff now on the island. I mean, building it together, and they're going to have this exhibition, let's say. But this place is incredible, man. I mean, absolutely incredible. Just Toraja and this whale fishing village. Then you have the, you know, well, there are no people, but, you know, Alor is exceptionally interesting.
So yeah, I want to see. I want to see as well. I mean, my photography is geared towards cultural photography, cultural interest, human interest. So I'm going to let that take me to wherever it takes me. And, you know, even in my short time here, I've met enough people to not piggyback on, but to at least work with or be introduced by them to an area of Indonesia or people there that I can go and explore. Even just you today, you know, talking about Mesa. So I'd want to do as much of that as possible.
Sure.
This studio is more of a, you know, it's a different beast. I love it. It's not my number one passion. It'd be number two in terms of the type of photography we do, but it can generate a little bit of money. Yeah. We're going to do some workshops here. That's going to be the real of like to see how that goes. And I think I don't think there are enough here in Bali, but I think there are a lot of people that certainly want to learn basic skills of photography, whether it's studio based or not. So yeah, there's a lot of plans, and it just needs me being here and having some time, and just meeting more people, you know, and certainly people who've lived here for a while, who know the place, who know Indonesia, and you know, maybe I can collaborate with them or just learn. Like, you know, I'm fully humble when it comes to we've just moved here essentially. Like, it's gonna take years to really.
It's a good place to be, you know, like this kind of like honeymoon period with the place. I mean, it kind of like depends on the people. I mean, I met some people who went into society so quickly. It's just amazing.
What do you mean went into society?
Well, I mean, they basically moved to Bali. Let's say, you know, I'm talking about a specific friend of mine. He moved to Bali. I met him, and maybe a month later, he was just everywhere. I mean, like, he knew more people than I did, and I lived but there are people like that.
Yeah.
They're just people like they're just these connectors. They're just kind of like all of a sudden around there like 1,000 people, and like, what the? I mean, like, I live here. This is my home, and you know, definitely everybody, because I'm not that person. I can be extremely extrovert and extremely introvert and then everything in between.
Yeah, we're the same.
So it's kind of like this thing of like, I'm not going to bars and like, you know, doing that scene. And if you don't, then it's kind of very difficult to do that. You know, like, because I mean, bars are the places, you know, like where you go, you know, like 30s, you know, 20s. That's what they are for. You know, like building that kind
That's
of.
That's why
like,
I do agree with you, and I understand that. But we're old enough and mature enough to say, look, if we want to do what we want to do, and if people, connections, job, whatever, come from that, then great. If they don't,
of course,
that's okay as well.
Look, I mean, we had the same, pretty much, kind of like in that kind of age thing with 40s, you know, whatever. We moved to Portugal. Within a week, I knew everybody, like literally everybody. Like, it was like I played this.
Everybody in Portugal.
Like, literally everybody in Portugal. I knew everybody. I went to a tennis tournament after not playing for many, many months, whatever, and I entered and I won. And essentially, there was like a group of 50 people there.
Were they blind?
Yeah. They were literally kind of like no hands, no feet. But the thing is, I met the guy that we played doubles together. He introduced me to the golf crowd. Yeah. Then it literally within a week, I knew people who are just there for 20, 30, 50 years, whatever they're like. I knew everybody in Greece. Yeah, I was lonely. We had dinners, you know, like day 10, dinner with 14 people that I knew well. It's just like, it's amazing. Barbecues, I'm going to their places, they're coming to my place after 2 weeks. Greece, I didn't know.
Why is that then?
I don't know. It's just kind of like, it just things happen. Like, if you arrive to a place, I mean, we traveled enough. If you arrived on place on Thursday, the life is different than if you arrive on Friday for some reason. Like, and I'm not talking about specific dates. I'm just, something happens when you move, when you travel. You just connect or you don't.
Yeah.
And there's no kind of like trying to push it, or you're trying and you're just like doing your best you can, but it's just not happening.
Also, I'm a firm believer in if you're just a good person, like,
yeah, you know, I mean,
you're gonna meet somebody, and like I totally agree. If your personality connects with a place, not so much the people will come later, but if you have a natural connection with just the environment that you move to, then I think it would.
Well, I'll tell you why we haven't met for 6 months.
Because you don't like me?
No.
Oh.
I do like you. And we had that talk, right? But then you were sick with COVID, right?
Yeah.
And I sent you that fucking SMS. It was like, hey, dude, I'm in a swimming pool.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, it's embarrassment. It's like, I was like, man.
You were embarrassed?
I was definitely embarrassed. No, I understand that. It's that, like, I'm telling you the full story. The thing is, the guy's in a fucking hospital, and I'm sending you the message, hey, I'm in the pool. And then you're like, dude, I'm in hospital. And I'm like, yeah, probably this was not the best message.
It wasn't
ever.
hospital, man. It was fucking prison.
That's what I'm saying. So it's kind of like, I mean, this thing of like, oh man, I mean, like, I want to meet this guy, but like, I understand.
Way.
But this is kind of eating at me for like 6 months.
Please.
Whatever.
Jesus
so
Christ,
now we met, and now you're gonna meet some people. I mean, look, I don't have a lot of people. That is the thing. I just never had a lot of people around me. I'm just have the good people.
Yeah.
You know, that is the, and I've always been that way. I mean, I never had like a million people around me. I don't know, like it's kind of like seems like a waste of time to me to just spread yourself thin with people.
Couldn't agree more. Yeah.
Like,
you need four or five good friends.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
And then, like, you know, the rest of it is like, you know, there's the people that I invite for barbecues, you know, like that fill up the space, and they're lovely. But there's like a first tier, and then the, you know, like, I don't know. That's kind of like how.
So we'll have to come over and meet your wife and your Alexa.
Definitely.
And I'll bring in an Amazon speaker just to confuse her.
Definitely. Definitely.
But until then, thanks so much for joining. And we haven't talked. I've really enjoyed the conversation, actually.
Yeah, me
because
too.
we haven't got too much into photography and stuff. I hope other people watching and listening have enjoyed listening to you, at least. I know I have. So thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing you soon.
That's it. Barbecue.
Cheers, man.
Barbecue.